Okay, sorry, last episode I said that Brad's audio was bad and gets better this episode. Today it appears to be me. I seem to be a little too close to my mic and pretty enthusiastic at times. So it sounds like I'm shouting down the mic. I've lowered the volume as best as I could. It's just a little crackly in places, but the professionality of this show.
Hello, this is 2 Minutes About Time with Luke Allen and Robert E.G. Black, the podcast that takes a look at the film About Time 2 minutes at a time. I am Richard Curtis, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you don't, well, you can just travel back in time 2 minutes and listen to something else.
I'm one of your hosts, Luke Allen. I'm joined, as always, with my co-host, Robert E.G. Black.
Hello.
And our special guest for this week, Brad.
Hey, everybody. This is Brad from the Cosmic Geppetto podcast. Real happy to be back on, joining the fun. We had a great time with the last episode, and this will be even more hijinks.
I love how positive you are, Brad. It's great.
The
funeral procession is such a fun minute.
It is a fun minute. You know, I'm a big fan of being positive, especially with pop culture, because this stuff should be fun.
Mm.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, so we open with Nick Cave telling us that he does believe in some kind of path that we can walk down, me and you. So we keep our candles burning, make a journey bright and pure, that shall keep returning always and evermore. Into my arms, O Lord, into my arms, O Lord, into my arms, O Lord, into my arms. And then we'll go on to the dialogue in a moment. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, actually, this is your week, Robert.
Yeah, it's all visuals.
Visuals.
You get the cars driving on the road, which is probably the road just north of where they just were. It's hard to confirm since it's a field. It's fairly generic looking. But the road seems like that, which is actually a really weird way to be driving. You don't get there. But, they're going for visuals. It's fine. And then you get...
I feel like you're getting more lenient towards the end of the show, Robert. You're going from this isn't possible to it's fine.
It's fine. They use the train station that's nowhere near their house. Whatever. That's their prerogative.
It's a different universe, which is very similar to us, but the train stations look a bit different.
And then you get another angle in the cars, and then we cut to the train. And then inside the train, you got Posey looking tired. Mary's holding Jeff, and we get a great shot. It's like 23 seconds in where Jeff is looking up at Mary. Mary is looking toward Posey out of frame, and Tim is at the edge of the frame looking at Mary. So it's like the whole family's kind of visually connected, which is nice.
It's lovely, and it's knowing British trains. Either they pre-booked, or they were very lucky to get the four opposing each other, because that is a difficult feat to book. We've been there. It's a pain. And even if you're reserved, people don't always know that it's reserved. They'll say reserved and you have to go up to someone saying, like, excuse me, it says reserved, it's mine. Yeah.
But
other times you can be sitting about there for ages.
The last 5 months they may have gone home a lot, so they might have like a standing reservation for these seats.
Maybe. Quite often I've been on trains as well where, like, it says it's reserved for someone, and because it could be reserved for someone at any point in the journey, you sit there and then they never turn up. Like, quite often me and my dad will book, like a 4, but when I can't tell if there's a table there or not. But
now
you get them with a table in the middle.
I have a question
and
for
we'll book
you, Luke.
that.
Look, you can finish.
Yeah.
I have a question about when they get to their house. Second 28 on your minute. Because I don't know what these orange ball decoration things are for, and I figure it's a British thing.
No, Robert, I've got no idea what they are. I think I've seen them before, but...
I hope it was some, specific holiday or something, and it would be really obvious. I was like, how do I Google orange balls British?
Just guess that it's Guy Fawkes and go with it. That's what I say with anything British. Like, it must be for Guy Fawkes Day. It's like...
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't really do enough for Bonfire Night or Guy Fawkes Day, other than set fire to a fake man. I always find that weird. Even though it's in our culture, often the man isn't there, but quite often you go to celebrations, there's a model of Guy Fawkes that's on fire, and it's like, yay, celebration.
Yeah.
Let's have fun.
Let's celebrate.
Fireworks and candy floss. In fact, candy floss is a whole different British-American conversation, isn't it? Because it's cotton candy for you.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, I always forget you don't have Bonfire Night. I mean, do you guys both know the story is the next question.
Of Guy
Fawkes? What it actually is. Yeah.
I learned that from V for Vendetta, and the book, not the movie. So
yeah. I remember, I knew it at one point, and I was actually in England once for Guy Fawkes Day. Just stayed the hell away from that. It wasn't like we went there specifically for the reason. It was just we were visiting my cousin in England, and he's like, by the way, it's Guy Fawkes Day. He's like, stay out of the city. I was like, got it. So.
Yeah, my dog who passed away a couple of years ago used to hate the fireworks and Guy Fawkes Day or Bonfire Night or whatever we call it. It was always just that. For the listeners who don't know, long story short, there was a guy called Guy Fawkes who tried to blow up Parliament. They then caught him and set fire to him, and that's what we celebrate while setting off fireworks.
Yeah, it's lovely.
That's pretty much it.
It's a weird holiday, but then again, I live in a country that celebrates Columbus Day, which is a really dumb holiday, so yes. I'm not going to throw stones. Just remember the 5th of November, as we say. I can't remember the rest of that rhyme. I only know that part. But, yeah, so we know that, as I said before, we opened this minute with finding out that Nick, we've already done this, I forgot. I need to scroll down on my notes. We're in the flat. The house. It's been a long week. And it's only Wednesday.
Yeah, here there's sleeping kids in.
Whoa, it's just one of the only times where we say it's Wednesday and it is Wednesday. We should make the most of this moment. Just sit here for a moment and savor it. Just let it all in. Take in the Wednesday. Okay, I'm good.
So,
right.
Before you get to the dialogue, a couple more visuals, because Mary gets Jeff in his crib. She starts to take his socks off, and then the camera slowly whips over to Posey's bed where Tim has already got her socks off and pulls the blanket up. He touches the side of her face. It's really sweet. And then we cut to them out at the top of the stairs again.
It's good. It does just feel so raw and wonderful, this whole exchange. But, yeah, so the fact that they're tucking them into bed in their normal clothes assumes that they fell asleep on the stairs?
Well, they looked asleep there and they were carrying them up the stairs, so yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I may be wrong, but I don't think I guess I was like that when I was little, but I just love how well they sleep. I remember when I was like a little bit older than them that my sister was like that, and I always found it weird that you could just fall asleep and sleep through all of that, because I swear like the slightest thing and I wake up. Mary says, what do you think about the kids? Tim, what about them? Not many of them, are there? And so, the exchange that's about to follow over these following minutes, I feel like I made a mistake in the bonus minute I sent Brad. Because what we should have done, which I may be wrong, I might have done this, but I feel like I didn't, is when Tim's first persuading Mary to have another child.
Yeah.
Because there are so many parallels in their sort of childish persuasiveness.
Yeah.
I just loved, and it was a neat way that Curtis wrote this, how this conversation begins, because when you think of, and especially when it's portrayed in movies or TV, it's often, usually these discussions are, first off, often there isn't a discussion, it's just her walking in, holding the stick, and it's like, oh, it turns out I'm pregnant, it's like, and it's a complete surprise to everyone because apparently nobody knows in movies or TV how children are made. Or it's a really deep conversation. It's like, but the world, can we bring a child into a world like this? And you know what? This strikes me a lot more real life where, yeah, it's a big moment. And yeah, it's important to deciding if you're going to have kids, but often it's a big moment that comes out of a little moment. It's more of a, this kid doesn't suck too much. Should we have another one? It's like, sounds fine. Like, often I think, especially if you're already a parent, the decision to have more kids, you're often, it isn't as daunting as it is when you have your first child.
Right.
And it can often be like a funny little joke or something that one partner has obviously been thinking about and they're trying to find a way to broach that subject, often with a little bit of levity. So I found this moment really rang true for me.
So I've just opened up my notes and realized I forgot to say something on Monday, which is that the scene when they're at the end of the funeral, when they're all driving off, was Rachel McAdams' last day filming. And they all got really emotional because Richard decided on set during that moment to play Into My Arms. Which, must have, you could imagine that, like, because it would, they would have come quite close over the course of filming, I'd imagine. To continue, if we're ready, straight into the next minute, 109. Tim says, what? Mary says, well, I mean 2. It's more than the Chinese are allowed, Tim says, which is a line ad-libbed by Donal, which is brilliant. It's such a... Richard Curtis literally told Donal, I wish I'd written that, and Donal said that's like the greatest compliment. That should be our aim for this podcast, Robert, to to get an email from Richard saying, I wish I'd written that.
And you'll definitely tell him, you can use that minute, just use that line, just, give me some credit. What I found really interesting in this next minute is it's the first minute that I've had where you really have the two of them well lit in sort of an equal conversation. And first off, it's just funny. They give Rachel McAdams mom hair. She's sort of, she has the sweater on. She's almost like a little shrugged. And all I can think is like, they are trying to really de-glamorize her because she is a stunningly gorgeous woman with a lot of charisma and a lot of presence.
Well, they're also trying to age her because it's in the movie. It's now been like 4 years since she was introduced.
Well, and there's also the thing, Gleason has a lot of strengths as an actor.
She's easier to make look older than he is, I think.
He doesn't have stereotypical leading man good looks. So it's like, if you glammed her up anymore, you wouldn't believe the two of them together because in so many movies, she's just stunning. It's funny, they seem to be working real hard to just sort of tamp down the way she pops on camera.
Yeah, I think so. So we then cut to them in the garden, and I love how this is lit. Like, the colour scheme and everything here is just brilliant, because it feels melancholy, because you know that for Tim this is such a big moment. And I think this is the point where you feel worse for Tim in all of this, in the not sharing the time travel secret. This is the hardest point, I think. So Mary says, I just thought that maybe, it was time for the insurance baby. What? In case one of them is really smart, we don't want the other one to feel stupid their whole life. And if we have a third one, then we could have 2 happy dummies. Can we talk about this concept? If you have 2 intelligent kids instead, doesn't that make the first child seem more dumb?
Well, then you have a 4th one.
Oh yeah, of course. That's the get out clause.
It's just, and it's funny, because of the smirk she has during the whole saying this, what it really comes down to is, they don't need a 3rd kid. Listen, I have 3 kids. Nobody needs 3 kids. They are...
Maybe farmers.
Maybe. But they don't look Amish to me. So, no, but what it is, it's, sometimes you want to have 3. You want to have that one more. And she knows any reason that he has is like, we have 2 kids already. We have a wonderful family. We have a good life. We don't really need 3 kids. That's all true. And she's just like, I'm just going to say something ridiculous and smile and be cute and,
hope that it works.
And it's going to resonate because he likes the kids. They have great kids. They have a great family and you just want more. And sometimes there's no other reason. Trust me, I know where I'm talking about here. Sometimes you just want more kids.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly.
I don't know why I'm agreeing as if I know. I'd imagine.
Just take my word for this. Listen, I know this very well because we had a beautiful, oldest son Chase, and he was this gorgeous, fun kid, and we had, my wife and I were very comfortable in the life we had, and we didn't need to buy a minivan, but it just became a thing. It's like, oh, you know what? We should have another one. He was 2 years old. He was a great kid. It's like, let's have another kid. That's when we found out we were having twins because the best laid plans. That's where they really could have turned left on him. It's like, yeah, we could have one more. You're having twins. I remember when they told me that, and my wife never came so close to punching a doctor before. No, she's not really convincing him. She's telling him what she wants, and she's being cute and funny, but it's all foolishness, but that's also sort of the relationship they have, and it's very endearing.
So Tim says, it was the toughest decision of my life. Saying yes to the future meant saying goodbye to my dad. Forever. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful decision in a film. A wonderful idea, really. Can you think of any stories that go down a similar route?
No.
It's good.
No, I'm drawing a blank.
I can either, Bill Nye said that it's a pretty original idea and he couldn't think of anyone who'd done it, and they said, except maybe the Greeks. And, yeah, I was like, yeah, it's a good one. So Tim says, why don't we wait a bit? Mary says, absolutely, you're right, yeah. How about now? Yeah, I love her childishness around this, because it's brilliant and it's sweet and it's really bloody persuasive.
Well, it's also, it's one of the things where, like, when your kid asks, is like, oh, can we do such and such? Is like, yeah, we could do it later. And later means no. So he's
Right.
just trying to kick this down a little bit, and it's like, no, she knows what he's doing, and no, let's have this conversation, let's have this talk. If you're gonna say no, say no.
Yeah. So, have we got any other comments on 109 before we wrap up this Wednesday?
No.
I want to know, Rachel McAdams was such an interesting choice for this, because she was a bigger star than anyone else in the movie. I mean, even Margot Robbie wasn't Margot Robbie yet.
Right.
She's American. She can be very glamorous. I sort of like, when I saw her cast, I thought it's like, okay, Rachel McAdams is how they got this movie made. She's, sometimes with movies, you need to have the name actor in the film to get it made. How is your guys' interpretation of her casting the same as mine? How did you like her in the role? Or would you have preferred a British actress, maybe not, who isn't so big and is McAdams so big a star, especially at this point, that it's a little distracting?
Well, and this is more my own thing than, I'd say, the British view. Is 2013, how old did I say I was at this point? I was 9?
You do know when you were born, right?
Yes, I just couldn't be bothered to maths. No, I instead of counting forward, I went backwards and it confused me. I've been away from school for like 2 months, Robert. I forgot that maths is required in life. So I was 9, so I didn't really know Rachel McAdams was when it came out. I saw the film for the first time a couple of years ago, enjoyed it. Rachel McAdams didn't mean anything to me then. Since then, I've seen that she's in a lot of things, and I understand that she's quite a major star, but I think we've said before as well, Robert, that her casting of things doesn't tend to be distracting, because she's such an actress who can do such a variety of roles, that it's less, we're watching Rachel McAdams for the whole film, it's, oh look, it's Rachel McAdams, and here's the rest of the film. Like, you forget about 5 minutes into a performance that that's Rachel McAdams. So her casting was never an issue.
Yeah, that's definitely true once you're watching the film. I think seeing her before you go into it, it does make it feel, just like we were talking about how they advertise the film, it makes it feel like it's going to be more of a rom-com, because you know she's been in, well, Mean Girls isn't a rom-com, but she's in The Notebook, which is romantic, not a comedy. She's in Time Traveler's Wife, which is romantic and not a comedy. Interesting. She's not actually in that many rom-coms, come to think of it. The Vow, maybe, but I think...
Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers, yeah. But even that's...
Well, I haven't seen the Wedding Crashers or The Vow, but I know she's in them.
I don't think The Vow is a comedy either. Maybe a little bit.
What about Game Night?
Well, Game Night's later.
Well, that was after this, wasn't it?
And then for me, seeing this came right off of seeing her in To the Wonder, which is like a serious drama. And I liked her in Red Eye, and she was in the Sherlock Holmes movies. And so she's got a lot of different angles to her if you see enough of her movies. I think seeing a couple, you have a very specific idea of who she is.
Going through her IMDb, I can't put my finger on well, obviously we know who she is, but I can't put my finger on who Rachel McAdams is to who she plays. And I mean, possibly because I just know this film the most, but I feel like the real Rachel McAdams is like Mary.
That's interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Because when I think Rachel McAdams, my mind first goes to Mean Girls, where she was smarter than the room, she's the prettiest, she has her crap together the most, a little bit of a Dance Monkey's dance when she sees the chaos around her, which is then, it's funny, because when I see her in other movies, where she's sweet, or when she's nice, or when she's the good guy, I was like, okay, Regina George is gonna kick some ass any second now. She's gonna like basically do a Scooby-Doo, pull off the mask, and realize that she's the villain the entire time. So it just might have to be when you're introduced to the actress.
Yeah. Well, also, I think the Mean Girls angle gives her a nice thing here, since the movie does often give her a little short shrift, is that you feel like she can take care of herself when it's not her scene and not her story. She seems like a stronger character than the wife.
Right. That's a really good point.
I'm always surprised in terms of watching this all the way through and watching this in analysis that actually we don't get that much personality-wise of her, do we?
On first, just watching the movie, not much. Slowing it down, I think we've gotten more because we focused in on those conversations where they're being smartasses back and forth. And even here where she's being really cute and childish. She has a very specific sort of way about her that is distinctive, but you might not notice it the first time.
Well, Luke, when you talked about how the minutes that we've gone through were her last on set, do you know the breakdown? Like, how long was the filming of this movie, and what percentage of that was she on? Was she on set?
I don't actually know that. I should, but that's the research that I kind of forgot to do. I could probably find out. How do you normally find out this stuff?
I normally find
just
out
me
by
asking
looking at
Emma.
the clapperboard and behind-the-scenes photos and just figuring it out myself.
Wow, that's advanced. I just would do a
Should I just ask? Should I ask Emma now?
Well, you can ask her. From the look of the film, I would say it wasn't a long production. Like, we do know what Bill Nye's thing was, 2 days, right?
Yeah, for the most. I wasn't quite sure with that as to whether it was 2 days just in terms of him filming in the house and doing table tennis, or whether it was 2 days overall. But I'd imagine he probably wasn't there for longer than like a week.
Yeah.
So, Brad, where can our listeners find you on social media?
Go to the Cosmic Geppetto's listener page on Facebook. On Twitter, we are the Cosmic G Pod. You can find the Cosmic Geppetto podcast on all your favorite podcatchers. You know, we talk about all things geeky. We talk about movies. We talk about music. We talk about comics. We talk about whatever else tickles our fancy. Both Luke and Robert have been on the show and were great contributors to it. And one of the things that we like to do, and Luke, you sort of said it jokingly at the beginning of this episode, but yeah, we're positive. And one thing that has always bothered me about, and it seems to be particularly prevalent in the podcast world, and I get it, it's people have a subject that they talk about, and then it seems like they hate the thing they're talking about. They talk about movie, music, whatever, and they just have disdain for the thing they're supposed to be. You know, it's like, hey, this is something that I'm passionate about, and we try to have a positive view on it.
Robert, please plug Mandy Sucks
I
after
was
this.
just preparing to.
But that was a different thing. That was, Mandy Sucks was, you didn't like the movie and you wanted to talk about what was wrong with the movie. It wasn't, hey, we're doing a podcast about Mandy, and, 2 episodes in, it's like, I'm just grumbling about it even though I pretend to like the movie. You were upfront about what you didn't like, and yes. I respect that all the way.
I remember actually one of the times I was on your show, you were talking about what, like with Please Be Seated, and how we mostly just did films that we like. I think there were only a couple of times we did films that we didn't like, and that was often like valid reasoning to do with the guests. So like an archaeologist talking about archaeological inaccuracies in a film, or not archaeological inaccuracies, historical inaccuracies, and like a guy who worked for National Lampoon talking about Futile and Stupid Gesture, which, for the record, I still love as a film. And yeah. Anyway, Donal Gleeson is in that film, and I always forget. Robert, where can listeners find you on social media?
Social media, Robert E.G. Black, or go to lemmingdrops.com for links to all my podcasts, including the aforementioned Mandy Sucks Minute, which I spent about 130 episodes complaining about that film.
Listeners can find me on Twitter at llama_bottle0, Instagram the Ginger Luke, Facebook Luke Allen Film. All podcasts, radio appearances, newspaper articles, short films are all at lukeallen.co.uk. This show is on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at 2 Mins About Time. They can also find us on IMDb, 2 Minutes About Time. And they can join our Facebook group, The Cupboard, to discuss all things about time and anything else, tangent-wise, all the stuff. Talk about anything. Today's goodbye, as always, is from this random article of interesting ways to say goodbye. Don't call us, we'll call you. The 2 Minutes About Time theme is performed by Ethan O'Mahony and is a cover of the About Time theme originally composed by Nick Laird-Close. 2 Minutes About Time is a production of Lemming Drop Studios in association with Bottle O Productions.